I want to talk about, just for a little bit, not too much, about prophecies and the concept of self-fulfilling prophecies. So yeah, I wanted to talk about prophecies for a bit. Again, sorry, I'll try to speak up. I've got, it's the hum from multiple computers, but really this is the only opportunity right now for me to shoot these videos. So I'll do my best, maybe lean in a little closer. So, yeah, prophecies. Of course, what I'm about to say is just how I feel. I'm not going to tell anybody what to think or what to say or what to believe. I just want to share, because we're all sharing, how I'm feeling about all these prophecies. And with the internet and everything else, there's a lot of sharing of this stuff. So you've got, as you know, there's prophecies everywhere in every way, shape, and form. So in a world where we share so much information, which is fantastic, what we're also getting now is trillions of opinions and prophecies and agendas and intentions, and it can be mind-boggling. I'm sure you can relate. I mean, it's just so much. So I try to stay open to it, but I also try not to hang on to anything too tightly. That's just my personal way I've generally seen things, and especially now the direction I'm going, I feel even more compelled to not get too trapped in the mind and too set on ideas. And so, yeah, we've got all this information. We've got Mayan prophecies in 2012, and we've got ascension prophecies and prophecies related to aliens and lizard people, and we've got social and political prophecies and economic prophecies of what's going to happen, and religious prophecies, and you name it. It's all over the place. And I don't know if any of you are feeling this way, but I'm really starting to not like the way it makes me feel. And when I say that, what I mean is that it really, the best we can do is really go with our instincts of how, not our head, but our instincts of how something makes you feel. As I said, you know when something doesn't feel right. It's not necessarily that something's going on in your head. You just automatically get a feeling. And so that's a good thing to trust, I think. I do. But for me, since I'm trying not to live in the mind so much, I'm trying to just live, stop efforting so much, change what's not working for me. And so these are just my thoughts, take it or leave it. I'm certainly I'm not trying to tell anybody what to think or what to say or what to believe, but I do want to reflect some thoughts for you to consider. So if you're somebody hearing these things and you find them a bit overwhelming, you can kind of share and work it out, but trust yourself, whatever you think. And if you're somebody who finds yourself being the prophesizer or somebody who speaks the word in some way or another of trying to get the word out about something, or inform people what something's going to happen, at the very least, if you want to do what you're doing, do it, but I reflect this back to something else to consider, because it's always good to look back in all of us, and to just kind of every once in a while say, now what am I doing? Just to kind of double check, because sometimes we get full steam of what we're doing, wrapped up in it. And it's good to step back and just reassess. But whatever you get out of this, even if it's just a couple laughs, that's good. But, these prophecies, all these things, you've got all these theories. And for me, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right for me. Even as it relates to what's coming with the events, and all this information, the truth seekers, and all this stuff. You hear a lot of people say fear-mongering, and then you hear people spreading this information saying, first thing they say is, this isn't fear-mongering. And I'm not saying it is or isn't, because that's just another, title. But if you're trying to convince people that something unpleasant is happening, even if there's a bright side to it, but if you're doing it in a dramatic way that makes people fearful and makes you insecure enough to say, I'm not fear-mongering, well, it's something to look at. But don't label yourself. I mean, nobody's a fear-monger. We're just sharing it. So it's probably not a good, we should probably just drop that anyway, so calling anybody a fear-monger. Drop these judgments. But the point is, you could at least ask yourself, am I spreading fear? Am I spreading other things that are positive? Just look at it. Look at the whole. Instead of just looking at it, this is my mission. And then if you still feel you need to do it, then do it. That's your right. It's valid. But for me, there was a time, I've never been big into conspiracies or into any one thing, as I said, but still, with the way the world's been slowly kind of, spinning, there was a time years ago that I did find myself almost unconsciously kind of nesting and kind of collecting things for the very vague just in case. Just in case what? I don't know. Just in case somehow, I used to call it the poop hits the fan, whatever that meant. I'm finding myself not wanting to do that. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's still a part of me that, like all of us, the fearful side, or the logic side of the brain, wants to prepare a little. But the real me, the inner me, the part of me that feels peaceful and at home, it doesn't resonate. And so, I'm not prepared. Because for me, my survival is not the most important thing. For me. For me, it's how I lived while I was here. And I've lived a pretty awesome life, and I wish to continue enjoying life, experiencing life, learning from life to the fullest. And for me, again, I'm just speaking for me, if I'm concentrating on backup plans and focusing on the money system, which, yeah, of course one day has to collapse. But what will happen, and what are certain forces going to do, and what manipulations are happening, and then what's the planet's going to do, and with all these shifts in the sun and the orbits and the meteorites down in the future that could hit the Earth, and the shifting and the pole shifting, and all these things. There's just so much. I mean, it's just too much, and for me, besides being too much, it just draws me further away from me. And I know some people might say, well, there's a way to kind of do both, and if you can do both, that's great. But for me, I can't be present. I can't, I get pulled out easily if I start to plan. So in other words, that's why it doesn't resonate with me, because it takes me further away from me and where I want to be and how I want to live. Survival is not that important to me. Of course, I would like to have a nice long life and see the world change for the better. I mean, I have a few hopes floating around, although I'm trying not to hold on to them too tight anymore. But yeah, for me it doesn't work. I think it all comes down to, for all of us, what Benjamin Smith, I really like him, in one of his videos, he posed a simple question. He says, first he said, what was the quote, that we're all joy seekers on this planet. Everywhere you look, everybody is in the process of trying to create their own joy. And the question is, really, for each of us, whether it's working or not. A lot of us it's not working, some of it is. And so that's the question. Whatever you feel, whatever you think, wherever you're going, is it working for you? And so as much as part of me would like to, go to the country, well, I do want to go to the country, and build a shelter and be completely self-sufficient, which I do want to do, but part of me wants to do it for just in case, and plan all these things. Though there's a part of me that wants to do that, I know which part that's coming from. And I don't want to live that way. I want to open up and let life unfold. And so, if some people think that's foolish, maybe I'm a fool. And it's not denial, because obviously big things. Here's the other thing I want to talk about. Just something for you to mull over. We know that we create a reality. Whether you believe in law of attraction or not, even if you're just a very practical person, we know that when you put attention, when you do certain things, there's a dominoes effect. You say something on the internet, and somebody sees it, and they give you an opportunity that you mentioned. And just from a practical point, we know that our actions and what we do, do create our own reality. And like many of us, if you start to see and feel that that's definitely something to the holographic universe or the law of attraction, those kind of things, where even our minds, scientists are saying, we send out these frequencies and we attract certain things. So I think more and more of us are embracing that, and if you embrace that, then even more reason to consider what we're putting out there. So if you're somebody who's always concentrating on survival, and that's what you're putting out there, everybody, we need to survive, we need to prepare, something's coming, well, then isn't there a good chance you're going to make it happen? So if we've got billions of people prophesizing doomsday, or if we've got billions of people prophesizing political and social events that are very traumatizing, or whatever it is, aliens coming down, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. But if so many of us are focusing the energy on it, so we have all these intentions on Earth, billions of intentions of people trying to convince each other and sharing information and following other people, what other people, jumping on certain, I'm just going to call it, for lack of a better word, bandwagons. I only say that because maybe that's not a fair way to put it, but a lot of the times when people are really into something, in time, a lot of times they move on to something else. So I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people. But either way, I know this. I don't even know as I'm saying this. There's some judgment in all this. But really, I'm just sharing of how I'm seeing it all. It's wow. It's hard to make sense of. But I do feel that holding on to it, I still stay open to it, but holding on to it too much or absorbing too much of it doesn't work for me. But again, what I really just wanted to put out there, more than anything, was just, just think about it. If we're all focused, so many people are focusing on these scenarios, isn't it logical that we're going to make it happen? I mean, we've heard, even in psychology, I think they even mention it, it's self-fulfilling prophecies. And we know that in our everyday lives. Well, I've seen it in my lifetime of people that a lot of times, it doesn't matter whether it's in relationships or what it is, people will say things and you'll hear it, and some part of you will say, wow, that sounds like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And sure enough, way later down the road, that would have came to be. So one way or the other, we have a way of making these things happen. So maybe we should reconsider whether we should put so much energy into these scenarios, which really are about change, which in that sense is good, but it's change through struggle only. And I understand, and I don't disagree. A lot of people say, well, that's another belief that people hold on to, that humans can only grow through struggle. True. I think it's true. However, we've been here for quite a while. Don't you think we've struggled enough? I mean, does it always have to be? Perhaps. I'm just putting it out there. Perhaps where our growth will really come is if we, as a whole, have a collective experience or thought or whatever you want to call it, a decision or whatever, or an awakening, that we've struggled enough and maybe it's time to stop efforting, to stop. Maybe we don't have to have the big dramatic events take place. Why not? If people can put all these other intentions, I'm not going to put a lot of energy to it, but if I'm going to occasionally think about these things, I'm going to put out the intention that we share and we grow and we go inward and each of us come to that special place of who we really are, what we really are, whatever that means, and bring that to the world, bring that to the collective experience, to where we just shift gently where we thought it would be. Why not? If we can create anything, why not wish for that? Why not put energy into that if we're going to put energy in? But that's just a question I'm posing. But I don't know what's going to happen. But I'd say with all with the intentions and things going on, things are escalating in every way, shape, and form on this planet. And I think it's important to go inward. I think it's important to stay calm. But for me, all these prophecies, all these ideas, set ideas, and so many people think they have the answers, or they're repeating what other people have said these are the answers. I mean, even if you look at the Mayans, there's some wisdom there for sure. I mean, they definitely, at the end of the day, they were just humans, right? Or maybe they weren't, but whatever they were in a human form, so, and that was a long time ago, so holding on to, and I know there's apparently still Mayans around, but I mean, really, what are they doing? They're passing on the information of their ancestors, which is exactly what everybody else is doing. They're passing on information. And I'll also just, for logic, if somebody right now isn't feeling what I'm saying, but they want to play with the logic, keep in mind that as we're sharing this information in books and media and and a very biased mainstream media and internet, which really is also very biased. It's just a billion people bringing their own personal bias, including me. That's what we're doing. All this information we're sharing, keep in mind something that we all know. And that is, I'll give you the analogy of a rumor. If I was to go outside right now and I was to tell somebody a crazy story that would kind of interest them and make them want to spread it, we know that, and they've seen this in studies, and we know in their own experience. Whatever I tell them, when they tell the next person, it's going to start to change. Because what we are is we are creative beings. Some of it's just memory. Sometimes because our memories aren't that great, it's just we fill in the gaps, and that's okay. That's another thing to understand. Because our memories, nobody on this earth has a perfect memory. So as we recall things in lives or information, we unknowingly fill in the gaps. And there's a bit of a storytelling. Sometimes if we're excited about something, if something fell 100 feet, through time of me telling it, I'm going to start to say 200 feet, 300 feet. It fell forever. So we want to keep that in mind, our nature. And we want to keep in mind that with rumors or information, when you share it, it starts to change as it goes along. The people add and they take away. And so we have to keep that in mind when you're holding on to that this is this because, there's all this information out there. Well, that information is just shared by humans, and so it's a story. And stories change and stories adapt and they evolve. And so we want to keep that in mind. Should we really, I guess what I'm really saying is, should we really hold on to anything too tight? So, yeah, I would put that out there that you want to keep this, maybe keep that in mind. Keep in mind of that really, can anybody really know what's coming? And keep in mind that we know we do create our future, individually and as a whole. And so do we want to keep focusing on negative or traumatic futures where change can only come through the irresistible force meets the immovable object? Could it hurt to maybe imagine if you're going to put energy into thoughts? Could it hurt to instead imagining a world where we just suddenly, through our own personal inner growth, enough of us do it, that a gentle shift happens and we all just go, yeah, wait a minute. Isn't this silly? We don't need to be doing any of this. Why not? And so, if you're someone like me who's overwhelmed with all the information, keep in mind these are just humans. Good intentions or not, they're just sharing information. They're doing the best they can. But be careful you're not being so influenced that you start to not feel right. And I know I felt it. Sometimes I started to go down that road and heard too much information on one thing and I don't like it. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like me. And so, and if you're somebody who is on a mission to spread the word of something or prophesize, just maybe rethink it every once in a while. Maybe go in and really delve into how does it really make you feel. But whatever, it's all good. It's all valid. I'm not telling anybody what to think. I'm just putting my little nugget out there. So my thing is, hey, I say we give it a shot. We've had our struggle, and we're having our struggle. So many humans are struggling, and even in ways a lot of us can't even imagine. I don't know, I think we've had enough. I would rather see us just do what we really, I think, all know what we need to do, and that is turn inward. And if we can let go of our fears and let go of holding on to ideas tight and being in the mind too much, if we can just get to the place that feels like us and just enjoy this incredible, whatever this is, experiencing, whatever it is we are in these forms, these wonderful shells that are designed to experience all these things, to try to enjoy it, try to take care of each other in this place, and make decisions from a place of love and not fear and anger and judgment. So why don't we try that? Why don't we see if we can make a gentle shift? You know, again, yes, struggle needs to happen, but we are struggling. We have struggled, so isn't it enough? Do we really have to go to the brink? We always seem to, but again, that's a belief that we have to. Maybe we should just let go of that belief that we have to go to the brink. Why do we have to? Why do we have to do anything? We can create anything we want. So that's my vote. I vote, just everybody, I'm throwing my vote out there. My vote is everybody turns inward. Everybody. We all share, whether it's, you know, how it's shared. We share this experience of going inward, peace and love. And we just find a gentle shift. And we find good change. And then we start making decisions based on that now new mutual feeling. That's my vote. My vote's the gentle shift of love and peace and harmony. So, everything I just said, take it or leave it. If it helps you, great. If it doesn't, toss it out. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what's going to go on, what's happening. I don't know what's going to happen. But I hope you enjoyed at least, and hey, be happy.